All right, and we are live. So welcome everyone who is joining us here today. My name is Humpty Calderon, Head of Community and Ontology. We have Raindy Lu. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, this is Raindy Lu, Head of Marketing and Communication of Ontology. Glad to be here.
Excellent. And so, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Ontology is a blockchain for self-sovereign identity and data. There's a lot of technology that's been built to facilitate identity, self-sovereign credit, data, marketplaces, DeFi. If you're interested in kind of even getting a snapshot of what that is, you can go to ONT.io or ONT.io, and you can see a few of the different products and protocols that have been developed, like ONT ID, OScore, Wing, inclusive pool within Wing, which is the proof of concept of decentralized credit and DeFi. There's Onto Wallet, of course, which, no secret, my favorite wallet. Multi-chain digital asset, easiest way to create your digital identity. Once you create it, you can see how easy it is for you to do soft verification, hard verification, whatever you need. And then, of course, Saga and DDXF, some of which we're going to talk about today. Anything you wanted to add, Randy, before we get started on the presentation?
That's fine. No more. Go on, please.
Okay, cool. So we've shared a presentation here, like a slide deck, which, if anyone's interested after this call to get access to this, just let us know, whether in the messages here or through the Ontology social media or on Telegram. Say, hey, I saw this really cool pitch deck. I really want to get one of those for myself because I want to learn more. I want to dive into any of these really complex topics to learn more about each of those. So like I said, Ontology is a blockchain for self-sovereign identity and data. In 3 steps, you can see what Ontology is, what it's offering, and its ecosystem. We'll probably explore these step by step throughout the presentation. Ontology, high-performance public blockchain, distributed collaboration platform, basically means really fast blockchain. Consensus is reached, I believe, finality under like 1 second. So definitely one of the fastest blockchains that exist. It's efficient in terms of gas consumption, and you're able to build on it. There's a lot here. Maybe there'll be a slide here, but there's definitely one slide that I like, and that has to do with how open the blockchain is for developers. It isn't just locked to those who are familiar with Solidity, as an example, which, of course, very popular. But there's also various languages that you can use. In fact, here it is on this slide. It supports Python, Java, Golang, C++. So definitely it is an on-ramp for developers so that they can start working on blockchain development without necessarily having to learn a different programming language. Excuse me. So if we move on through here, we can see some of the different, one of the partners that Ontology has recently onboarded to the blockchain, or to its identity, I should say, solution, and that is Rocky. If you are not familiar with who they are, they're a music platform that is built for musicians, artists, creators to share their music in a decentralized way. And as it says here, Ontology and Rocky have developed a strategic partnership to integrate the decentralized identity solutions developed by Ontology to verify their artists. We can certainly dive into that. In fact, I did earlier in today's call, and I have in other conversations that I've hosted on Twitter and Clubhouse, where we look at why that's important. Why is identity important when it comes to verifying the creator and verifying the digital assets? Of course, authenticity is key, especially if the reason why you're collecting something is because you want to support a particular creator. Raindy, did you want to add anything about Rocky, and in terms of why Ontology sees that that project as important and valuable for expanding decentralized identity?
Oh, cool. So we talked with Rocky for a long time. That's since the NFT market is boosting now, and they do have the requirements about the KYC and AML logging system. So they are finding partners, especially providing DID solutions on this area. And they compared different projects among all the ones that are doing the same thing as Ontology do. And after the continuous efforts from both our business and technical team, they finally choose Ontology because they think that Ontology is the leading experts in this area. So the objective for both Rocky and Ontology is that we want to transform the traditional login system for every creators on the Rocky platform from a centralized way to a decentralized way. So through that way, and all the users can have the power to control their own data and access without leaking the information to the platform. So, which is very important, and also that's an innovation way for all the projects who has that sense of protecting the user's identity and data. So through that way, we're going to build up the whole system, and then we will show our community members and also the users that how it works. I think that there won't be much barrier between the traditional login way to decentralized way. So users just log in like they do before, but it's actually protect their identity using the ID solutions, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think another thing worth noting, if we look at that, Rocky is actually built on the Binance Smart Chain. So this is a platform, a product that's operating not on Ontology, but it's operating on another blockchain. So it's important to note that Ontology has deployed these identity solutions to other blockchains, right? So can you tell us maybe briefly what some of these blockchains are?
Yes. So other than the BSC chain, we also providing the DID solutions to like the Ethereum, Polkadot, Tron, and all the leading public chains, I would say. So you can find the W3C registration on their official site to see that how many DID solutions and registration is provided by the Ontology Foundation. So I think no matter the ONT ID or the OScore, it's not only limited to ontology chain and the ecosystem. It should be to the whole blockchain system. So we are pushing more the applications, and Rocky is a good start to encourage more projects building on BSC to consider that the DID solutions that can be empowered on their own projects.
Absolutely. I mean, I really love that idea of, the interoperability and the portability of that identity, right? Because if you're creating identity solutions and you're locking them within a particular protocol, be it, a platform like this or just one blockchain, there's value to the users, but that value is limited, right? It's great that what Ontology is building, in ONT ID and OScore and all these other identity protocols, is that interoperability, because that way individuals who may, for example, utilize their identity on Binance Smart Chain could take that identity to another blockchain like Ontology.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the idea. So everyone has their decentralized identity, but they don't want it to be individual. So it should be works on all the chains. So that's what we do, and to make our efforts to clear all the barriers and limits between the different chains to be the real cross chain.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think over the last couple of years, we've seen the value of interoperability, whether that's to create some sort of cross-chain bridge for digital assets, or even within DeFi, that composability, right, of these protocols so that they can create a more dynamic ecosystem. I think the same thing is going to be true for identity. There's going to be a need for that interoperability and composability to create, you know, a richer experience, a more robust and more secure experience for people.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. And so, just as we say that, we show here on the other slide that Ontology is the only decentralized identity partner for Binance Smart Chain. I think that that's valuable to note because of opportunities like we saw on the previous slide, where there are developers that are building technology that can leverage these identity solutions that Ontology has delivered to Binance Smart Chain. Oh, this is a fun one, actually. So this was recently announced, maybe 2 months ago, in terms of the partnership between Ontology and Microworkers. Do you mind sharing a little bit of this? Because this is definitely not one of the ones that I'm most familiar with in terms of what Microworkers are using and why that's important.
Sure. As the most of the audience know that we do have our own digital assets data and also the data wallet, which is called Onto. So it's a decentralized and cross-chain crypto wallet. So when Microworker comes to us, that they are going to seek the new way for giving pay to the freelancers in crypto assets, but they are lacking of the handles or the devices that between the platform and also the way they do is in through fiat. So once they got Ontology has the amazing Onto wallet, we are talking deeply to get away. So it through the Onto wallet, it links the freelancers to getting the payroll that they can finish the tasks on the Microworkers website. So there will be multiple tasks that to be finished, and no matter they are at any corner of the world, that they just need to finish that task and they get paid. And there's a new option for them to get the rewards is that they can click onto wallet. So once they click onto wallet, they get paid in crypto assets, and plus that they will get additional rewards provided by the Onto. So through that way, it motivated them to try a different way to get their rewards, and that breaks out the entrance to them to the blockchain world. So once they try it, they feel that it's so smoothly, and there's no difference between the fiat like the Visa do or the Mastercard do, and I get additional rewards. Why I'm not trying that? So through that way that we can see that they also gain the knowledge about the blockchain, also the crypto assets. It's pushing the crypto world to get more connected with the real assets in real world. So that's what Ontology trying to do. And above that, it's also give them the chance to try the ONT ID. So everyone that's to get the rewards from Onto, they will get their ONT ID, which is a decentralized identity in the crypto world, fully protect their own identity and data. And that's a great move in the industry, I would say.
Yeah, you know, I think the one thing that I'm hearing from what you're sharing right now is that what Ontology is doing, it's creating on-ramps for new people to find their way onto blockchain, right?
Yeah.
One of the most difficult things right now is finding people who aren't already crypto native, right? Because a lot of the people that utilize blockchain and cryptocurrencies and DeFi protocols are the same people. So people keep fighting for the attention of the same people over and over and over. And I think, there's only so much attention people can have. But it is very difficult to find new people and to give them a use case that makes sense for them. Something that, like you said, is, oh, wow, this is very similar to what I'm already using. This is something that I could, use not just for this, but let me continue to explore this further, right? Because there's those additional incentives and rewards that they're earning with Onto. Furthermore, they have an identity that got created that's going to then empower them even further down the line. So I think that all of these things are really fantastic, and it just proves to me even further, more than I already believe, that what Ontology is a bridge. They don't just bridge technology, they don't just bridge protocols, they bridge people, they bridge utility, they bridge decentralized with institutional. I mean, I think that that's really what Ontology is known for. They are a bridge in blockchain. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
So here we have a slide that really breaks down what ONT ID. We've been talking about that for some time now, at least since the beginning of this call. And if you joined us earlier in the call, during the community call, we dove a little bit into what ONT ID is. But I think something to note here is that ONT ID is based on the W3C standard, right? And why is that important? I mean, just like anything else, I think if you're building something from scratch, sure, that's great. But if you want to scale, if you want that interoperability, you need to work with standards. And I think the fact that ONT ID has been built on that standard is incredibly valuable. And as other projects will certainly create their own identity solutions, it's building with these standards that will allow them to interoperate between each other as well. So
yeah, that I want to add is that from the beginning of the project, we are thinking about interoperability already, and it should be aligned with the globalized standard as the official standard. So the W3C is the most widely used one with the good reputation, and also it requires high demand on the technical side. So our tech team do make lots of efforts on this side.
I think one of the more valuable things that I learned when I started exploring decentralized identity and looking at these W3C standards is the institutional adoption of W3C. We're not looking at just blockchain utilizing these standards. These standards are used by institutions like Microsoft, right? So I think one thing that I've talked about, of course, all of this is just ideas and concepts, because it's a really exciting space because it's so new, but there's a lot of potential for it. Is I tell people, if you look at utilizing these standards like W3C for creating ONT ID, you can imagine that at some point, maybe there will be a way for you to interoperate between your institutional software like Microsoft Office, as an example, and then using that at the same time to access your DeFi protocol. It can potentially navigate all of these different systems because they're using these standards that have been adopted by institutional developers as much as blockchain developers.
Yeah.
And that's
other
exciting for
than
me.
that, yeah, that's really exciting. And also the tech team is getting fully involved in the regulations and standards making. So they are attending their technical meetings with the W3C experts and to find a solution to get a more balanced and most widely used one.
I mean, I think that that's also super important because, regulation is key. I mean, when technology is new, it tends to go unregulated because it needs to continue to grow, scale, adapt, evolve. But as things start to become more I guess, becomes a standard in itself in the way that people utilize it, regulation comes in, and it's important for people, for developers that are building it to have a voice, so that we get hopefully a more accurate representation of what the original intent was, even after regulation.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. So I think I'm going to skip this slide just because unless you see a benefit here, I think it just kind of repeats a little bit of what we've been talking about already.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so actually this is a cool slide. I really like this. And in fact, I might make this my profile picture for a little while because I like that it shows the rich and deep ecosystem of ONT ID, the number of blockchains that it's currently on, and this list is growing.
Yeah.
I mean, we see, like you said, some of the leading blockchains here. We have Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, Polkadot, Near, Elrond, Tron, Celo, Clayton, Ontology, obviously. So it's really great to see, the development that is kind of covering the gamut of blockchains. Just like you have your favorite token, you have your favorite blockchain, ONT ID is likely already there. So Onto, my favorite wallet. Go to Twitter, you'll see I talk about it enough. And any of the Clubhouse talks that I have. Is there anything that we don't know about Onto, or maybe another perspective about Onto that you think is valuable for us to know beyond the fact that it's a multi-chain, supports multiple tokens, and the fact that it's a simple way to create your decentralized identity?
I think there are 3 points, the shining points of Onto. That the first one is it's a decentralized wallet, which is different from the centralized wallet. So they just keep your crypto assets in their server, and it still has the risk if they do some harm to the assets. So Onto can avoid that kind of the risks. And the second one is the true cross-chain wallet. So it means that once you have your ONT ID, once you download and open Onto, it actually links to all the assets that's supported. As listed, there should be like 14 in total. So you don't need to get copy of all the mnemonic words for each chain, but you only need to get one private key for that. So it saves the time and efforts for the users to manage their assets. And even though they are going to switch out their devices, like they have the new phone, then they download Onto in their new mobile and easily import their assets there. So the third one is that it's the only one crypto wallet with the identity empowered. So it's got the ONT ID, and you can have your OScore with the ONT ID inside Onto. The calculation is based on your behavior on chain, also the crypto assets you have. So that's really a different and the leading crypto wallets among others, I would say. And another thing is that it's not only the app wallet, and just last month that we got the Onto web version. So it's an extension of the Chrome. So no matter you are using the mobile or the PCs, that you are using the same wallet actually, and which is easily to skip the barrier between the switches. So you have the only one ONT ID, and you can manage your assets no matter using mobile or the desktop.
I think having that flexibility, being able to go from your desktop wallet, or should I say your browser wallet, and going to your mobile wallet, being able to utilize it not just for digital assets, but for identity. I think it's this rich experience, this dynamic utility that you give people, I think that makes the wallet that much more valuable. It's one of the things that I say whenever I talk to people about digital wallets. I say, honestly, I think the digital wallet has come a long way from the very beginning.
Yeah.
But there's still room for evolution. There's still room for improvement. And as identity starts to become this like critical element for helping blockchain and crypto mature, I think we're going to see a ton of value in having wallets that have these solutions built in, these identity solutions. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying I know what every wallet out there is doing, but I don't think that there's another wallet that has what Onto has in terms of that flexibility and that rich, utility that goes beyond just holding digital assets or beyond just working across multiple blockchains.
Yeah.
So, a little bit about what we just talked about in terms of why you want to use Onto. It's that decentralized wallet. You own your assets, you own your keys. It gives you or enables you to have your identity also as part of your digital wallet. I think that all of these are critical elements to making these wallets safer, makes them more valuable to people as, like I said, blockchain continues to grow and evolve. So I don't know if we're going to talk about OScore on one of these upcoming slides, or maybe we've already gone beyond it because we've talked about ONT ID, but I think maybe we shouldn't get too far without talking about OScore. OScore and ONT ID kind of go hand in hand together. OScore, ONT ID being your digital identity, right? And then OScore being your reputation based on that identity. Can you maybe give us like a quick introduction to what OScore is and why that's important in your perspective?
Sure. So once everyone has the identity, it's like an identifier, so people know you, who you are. But how they can judge you, that's how trust you are, that's based on the OScore. So that's why we have the OScore protocol in our ecosystem. So everyone is able to get a OScore like the rankings or the scores that's based on their ONT ID. And it links to all the behaviors they do on chain. But it can be customized according to their own demands. So I would say there's no limit or the guidelines to tell people that how your OScore is going to be generated, because it's quite different. Depends on different demands. So basically, the one use case is on Wing.finance, the DeFi platform that's developed by the Ontology team. So there's an inclusive pool, which is a credit-based lending platform on it. So once you got your OScore, it makes you possible to be under-collateralized to lending out the crypto assets. Let's say that you have 1,000 USD as the collateral. It can be the USDT. Then you get very high the OScore. Then it empowers you to borrow out like 1,100 USDC maybe, based on the how trustful you are on chain. So it makes the real application to let the people to using their credentials, reputations, and make the actual benefits throughout it. So that is a critical protocol for the blockchain world, because it's kind of solving the problems about trust. So which is the blockchain, the objective and the core value of the blockchain, I would say.
Yeah, I think that there's such a synergistic relationship between ONT ID and OScore and really the way that they are utilized. And like you said, there's a lot of flexibility in how that score can be created. I really like what Ontology has done with Wing, because it really is proving that the future of DeFi, it's still so early that it doesn't have to be over collateralized. That's not how the real world works. You have a reputation in the real world, and that reputation is what enables you to borrow, right? And so with OScore and on Wing as an example, like what Raindy mentioned, is just to reiterate, because I think it's important, is you are able to then get better rates, whether that's an under collateralized loan or that's better incentives. I mean, that also depends on the protocol on which the ONT ID and OScore are integrated. There may be a different use case. I see Alonzo here in the chat is asking, is consumer loyalty systems a good use case? Absolutely. You imagine right now, in the real world, you have these loyalty cards, and how many do you have? Or maybe you have to download the app. And every time you go, you have to scan this. But really, is this the best way? Like, is there a way for you to be able potentially to take that reputation across all of the different, stores and websites that you visit? If you do, maybe that's a more accurate representation of who you are. You're going to 5 marketplaces and you're saying, well, I want to buy the same things and I go everywhere. Well, with ONT ID, with OScore, potentially this information, again, this is your identity, your data. It's up to you how much of this you want to share. But you say, I want to share this information with these 5 purveyors. And from that, they can then dictate your loyalty and then give you rewards based on that on chain. In the real world or in the, on the web as well, because of course, most of the world has gone digital. So most of us buy all of our things online. So definitely a very good use case. Airdrops, as ULU, is asking, absolutely. In terms of airdrops, maybe Raindy, you could talk a little bit about how that's being utilized today with ONT ID.
So could you repeat the questions again?
Oh, sure.
I'm kind of losing the internet.
Oh, no worries. I was just saying that Liu asked about airdrops, and I was saying maybe we could talk a little bit about how ONT ID with the hard verification of KYC can be used in order to allow for airdrops, depending on regions or any other verification method for that matter.
Yeah, actually, the team is working on the airdrop related use case with the ONT ID. Yeah, because in the crypto world, especially when the new project is launching the tokens, there will be massive airdrops there. So, what the project team concern is that how they can prevent the robots to gaining the airdrops for free, and it's kind of be harmful to the real users and the real community members to get the rewards in a trustful way. So through the ONT ID system, and we would call it like the DID SDK solutions provided to the projects, that we are seeking the ways to evaluate the every individuals who participate in the airdrops credit, and also based on their previous records on chain. So it's kind of the solving the problems and their concerns. I'm not that into the that case, because Gloria, our chief of ecosystem development lead, is leading the projects. So I think we can save that questions in our notes, and we will dig out more detailed information with her and give you the answers directly.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great thing. I think that one of the valuable things about events like this is we get questions that, even though we are not either the technical person or don't have all the information, we can use this to make sure that we can help continue educating the community on all of these particular use cases, and even some of the ones that we may be exploring already. Maybe just to touch on airdrops a little bit, You know, in one of the calls that I've hosted on Clubhouse, someone brought up a really good example. And, you know, Uni airdropped, Uniswap, I should say, airdropped Uni across all of their user base. But, you know, one of the questions that we ask ourselves in terms of, you know, the way that that was distributed versus maybe if they had used some sort of identity solution is if one person had used 10 wallets and one person only used one wallet, do we believe that it's fair that that distribution was sent fairly because one person got a lot more than someone else because they, you know, not that it's wrong that you're using 10 different wallets, but now the distribution of that wealth of that token isn't fair. It isn't per person. It's now going to wallets, right? So if we really want to look at ways to create a more fair distribution of these tokens, we can potentially look at solutions like ONT ID so that we can make sure that we're sending it to real people, right? And how do we verify that these people are real? I mean, if you download Onto, you can see that there's ways to do it via social verification. You could also do it through some hard verification methods that utilize, you know, a KYC element. So certainly there's a lot of different ways that we can do this. And, you know, that's the really cool thing is that there's a lot of areas that can be explored with identity. Well, we're kind of rounding out. Wow, we've almost been here an hour, Raindy. So that's fantastic. Let's see if we can get through this presentation. I know Saga is something that the team is, you know, currently developing and exploring use cases for. Can you give us a very quick rundown? What is Saga and why is it important?
Yeah, Saga is decentralized data marketplace that is designed for both the individuals and the enterprises. So what we are doing now is that I remember that there's a community member mentioned that what's his understanding of Saga? It's the 1 inch of data. So that's really impressive me because he gained the main idea of it. So recently, that in most cases around the digital assets. That's why we have so many DeFi platforms. But actually, that we do have the requirements and inquire about data in the long term. So that's the reason why we build up data. And as we introduced before, that Ontology is a blockchain, not only for decentralized identity, but also data. And the ONT ID is one of the critical elements of the project. So now you can log in the Saga website. It's already live like last year. So you can get a simple try to log in with your ONT ID and start getting the data listed on the website. But in the long term, that we are going to build more than that. So it will be a truly decentralized data marketplace. It should be built on the Ontology chain, but will be more interactability with the other chains. So that's the idea. And to make the this marketplace more more useful, that the idea is that we are going to gain the more use cases that they use the logic of the Saga platforms, and to make the official launch at a later stage. So to get fully prepared and to show our professional and also the respect to the all users. So we don't want to make it too rush and but pay more attention to the details and to get it more well prepared.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I mean, I think what Ontology is doing is creating a very complete ecosystem for identity and data, right? You've got your digital identity, you have your digital credit score, you have your, should I say, decentralized credit score, decentralized identity, you have your DeFi integration, which is the next slide that we're going to get to with Wing. You have the wallet that enables you to just utilize this entire ecosystem, from creating your identity to utilizing these DeFi protocols to potentially in the future utilizing Saga, which is the decentralized marketplace. So Wing, first credit-based cross-chain DeFi lending platform. That's a big sentence. Basically, the lending platform has traditional flash pools. It's cross-chain because it's currently on Ontology, it's on Ethereum, and on OKX chain, which it was recently launched on, I believe, a week or two ago.
Yeah, should be 2 weeks ago. The
Wow.
OKEX chain. Yeah.
Time flies. I remember when we were announcing it. That was exciting. And then the interesting or the very unique element of this platform is because Ontology has developed these technologies focused on identity, decentralized identity, they were able to create, I guess, like a testing ground for how that could work. And that's inclusive pool, right? What we were talking about earlier in terms of under collateralized loans, better rewards, which is great. And I think that the future of DeFi is going to be this. The more I listen to people talking about this subject on Twitter, on Clubhouse, on YouTube, on a variety of media channels, people are seeing that currently the way that DeFi is built isn't fair. It's only benefiting those with, a lot of wealth. The word that I see being used a lot is plutocracy, meaning that if you have a ton more money, then your voice counts for more. And, really what blockchain crypto is trying to solve is really go against a lot of these traditional ways of the way that the economy works, and it wants to be more fair. And I think with the introduction of decentralized credit scores and identity, there's a potential of leveraging your behavior, your reputation, to be able to get access to these markets without necessarily having this huge amount of, digital assets to be able to back that loan.
Yeah, and what I want to add is that besides the flash pool, the leading pool, and the inclusive pool, the credit-based pool, and we also launched the any pool, which is also a big thing in the DeFi world because it makes it possible to link the real world assets to the crypto world. So it's as an example that if a user has a flat in the real world and he wanted to collateralize it and to borrow out the crypto assets, the anypool makes it happen. So and the flat can be minted as an NFT and to be recorded on chain as a credential, so people can it release the liquidity of that flat's value, and you can borrow out the crypto assets. So that's one use case, and also it can be adopted to the crypto world. Is that you can lead and borrow like the Uniswap V3 NFT, and also there's various the different the NFTs projects, so they can collateralize their NFTs on Wing platform, the anypool, and to lend out the crypto assets and also the other NFTs. So it's break out the barrier between the real world and the crypto world. That's a good and giant movement in the industry as well.
Yeah, I think that goes back to one of the things that I said early in this call, and Ontology is building bridges, right? It builds bridges, not like I said, not just in the traditional sense or in the way that we look at building bridges on chain, but it also is doing that in the traditional world. And I know we also have some members in our team that are very excited about possibilities with any pool, because they can then start lending not just their NFTs, but their land, because they're living in an entirely different world. And they want to be able to utilize all of these assets that they have on these marketplaces. So it's really exciting about the possibilities of what Wing is going to enable, again, to continue to evolve and mature the DeFi space.
Yeah.
So I think we're almost at the end of our presentation here. Raindy, did you want to maybe make some closing remarks in terms of, Ontology and this very rich ecosystem?
I think through today's talk and the presentation that people already got the idea that what Ontology is doing. So what we are doing is focus on the decentralized identity. That's the first thing. And the second thing is the data. So what listed on this infographic shows that what we've achieved on this aspect. But more than that, we are still doing the traditional things like all the crypto projects do. We are making the rich ecosystem with all the public chains, wallets, DeFi projects, and exchanges, and also the other protocols, and to aiming to build up a trusted words with everyone's efforts. So as you can see that we have already had over 29 language communities, and we do pushing our partners to around 200. I think it should be more than that recently. And also talking about the governance-wise, that we have a decentralized and global network of Ontology. As you can see that we have around 1,000 nodes in total, and as consensus, the 65 of them are the candidates nodes. So even for the individual users, that you can stake your ONT on any of the nodes and to gain the ONG, the gas fee, that which gives you the access to do the transactions on the Ontology chain. And so, which is incredible is that now we have so much ONT IDs created on the Ontology chain. And it's very bad to see that so much people has their decentralized identity starting from the Ontology. And I hope for that. I hope that there will be more people have their IDs and data that control by themselves through a decentralized way. And Ontology will keep making the efforts on these aspects and building up a more trusted world with everyone.
Yeah, I think these metrics, both on this side, looking at the numbers, on the other side, looking at the partnerships and that landscape that is very diverse, it's not just limited into one area, because, of course, it's a very multifaceted ecosystem. One of the metrics that I love, and of course, going back to Onto, I think the reason why there's so many ONT IDs is because it's so easy to make ONT IDs. And one of the more important things, and I think the responsibility of every developer that's creating technologies on top of this very complex ecosystem, is to make it accessible, to make it super simple, and to be able to allow people to very simply create that decentralized identity just by creating a wallet, which is kind of standard in this space. I think is going to take Ontology a very long way. From the landscape side, one that we didn't touch on, and I think super important, and again shows that multifaceted nature of Ontology, is the automotive partnership with Daimler, right? In terms of the welcome home, I think is an MVP in order to prove how ONT ID could be utilized in the automotive industry in the future as well.
Yeah, and there's also a real application that's how the users can control their data. So let's take an example is that a user has has a car in Germany, and he's used to it. So the every settings is recorded on that car. And once he going to travel to maybe Singapore, and he'll rent out a same car, but all the settings need to be reset. But through the Welcome Home app, so he can simply import all the data controlled by himself. So the car or the manufacturer won't, or even the Daimler won't touch the data. So it's fully controlled by himself, but it can be simply applied on the new car he's using that. So he feels like he's using the same car, but in the different space of the world. So which is really amazing.
Yeah, I'm smiling a little bit because I think maybe for most of us who don't have these very smart cars, it might not seem like a very big deal. But as we move forward with these intelligent cars, just like the rest of, all of the electronics that we own, we're going to see a ton of value in terms of being able to record our preferences in a decentralized way, in a way that we're in complete ownership of that data, and then utilizing that anywhere. Going back to the question that Alonso asked earlier, if you're going on a website and you're constantly having to fill in the same information over and over, it might seem like a small little pain, but if you could just automatically fill that information out in a way that that you control that data, that it's not just getting utilized in whatever way that other company wants to use it, I want to use that. I think that's a future I want to be a part of.
Yeah. I would recommend everyone to log in the ONT.io. That there's a video showing the idea or the future of how your data is used and how you can manage your daily life with the decentralized identity. So it's really cool. Just watch that video to get the idea.
Yeah, I've heard really, really positive things, and I've heard some like, oh my God, that looks really scary. But at the end of the day, all of your comments are important. Whether you think it's really fantastic or you're questioning something, I think the whole point of this conversation is to be able to facilitate a way for you to ask questions. And so we've moved on to this last slide on here, and ONT.io, like Raindy said, that is the website of Ontology. All of these social links are at the bottom of that webpage. But if you wanted to just take a note of the ones that we have here, definitely some of the more important ones would be the Telegram channel. There's, the team is there. There's moderators there. They're ready to take your questions on Twitter. All of the announcements get shared there. Everything that Ontology is doing, including conversations like this one. All right, Raindy. Well, I think we've reached the end of our chat here. So any last words?
No more. I think we talked enough today.
All right. Well, we've been here a little over an hour. This is really exciting. Thank you so much to CoinDesk for putting together this event, for allowing us a space to be able to have a conversation with the attendees, to be able to engage with the community, and hopefully add value to the conversation, things that you learned here today. With that, thank you so much, and we'll see you on Telegram.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.